اللهم افتح لنا أبواب حكمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علمك اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. My dear brothers and sisters, I salute you all with the salutation of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we start, a few announcements. First of all, tomorrow there will be a talk at the same hall, inshallah, in Arabic. The title will be مسؤولية الشباب تجاه المجتمع. Responsibilities of the youth towards the community في خدمة المجتمع. So for those who would like to attend tomorrow, it will be in Arabic. A second request is that for the youngsters, specifically men, if you'd be kind enough to donate your seat at the back to allow some ladies to sit, because ladies are always come first. I believe that applies also. For men, we do have a hall there outside connected with a video, so you can also observe us. This is not it's not a command, it's just a request. If you do that, then you'll be highly rewarded, and ladies will love you for that. There you are. So you'll become famous in no time.
It's just for the video.
Okay. Thank you for coming. I don't know why you came tonight. Either you were intrigued by the title, The Missing Link, or maybe you felt the talk was relevant to you, so you have a missing link that you are searching for. Or maybe you heard about the speaker, so you said, you know what, let's go and listen to this speaker who has got something to say. Or maybe you thought it's a good opportunity to have a rendezvous and meet someone of your interest who would like to share the same missing link with you. Whatever the case, let us begin. And typically, I always like to start by asking the audience, asking you. And please, before we start, just ask your neighbor. And the question to ask your neighbor, do you have a missing link? If you have one, how big is it? Okay, that's enough. If you have a missing link, please raise your hand. If you have a missing link, please raise your hand. If you haven't raised your hand, you're going to find that you have many missing links. Okay, let's start. Human beings, it seems that for one reason or the other, we have, I wouldn't like to call it a passion, but I think we are eluded to try to perfect our life in this world. Whatever we do, there is always the sense of dissatisfaction. Whatever goals we attain, we feel that there is something else that we can have, or there is something missing that we can truly attain. And it seems that to be a vicious circle that starts from childhood. And it continues, and the sad reality is that by the time we become teens, sometimes we have already set the pace and we have already decided how our lives are going to be. Typically, from my experience, 3 top issues tend to dominate our thoughts. And as a result, they preoccupy our thoughts and activate our emotions. And most of the time, it is a painful emotion that is associated with the 3 issues. Issue number 1, to many people, has to do with relationship. Either not having enough relationship, or not feeling the sense of belonging, or not getting enough love, affection, care, attention. And most of the time, that usually starts at the early age, sometimes as early as 5 years old, when we are 5 years old. And due to the lack of not getting enough of that at that early age, one then begins the search, or begins the journey of trying to seek that care, that love, that affection in everything they do. And people usually divide themselves into two categories. Either those who would try to go and demand it from others, or those who say, you know what, I can do without it. Two types of people emerge. Some will continue to search for it. They'll try to win people in order to get that love, affection, care, attention. Others will say, you know what, I don't need it, I can do without it. Both these types of people usually suffer. For the first category, they will burn themselves out in trying to seek the pleasure of others, in trying to seek the approvals of others. It begins with childhood, trying to seek the approval of parents. And usually parents are the ones who initiated that feeling towards the child. Because as human beings, we were born and we all need that affection, we need love, we need attention, we need care. And the lack of it makes us feel as if we do not belong. So what majority of parents do to their children, they use what is called emotional blackmail. They say to their children, when children misbehave, or when children fail to obey parents, they say, I don't love you, I don't like you, bad boy, bad girl, you're not my son, you're not my daughter. And we say so casually, and usually the reaction is immediate and the reaction is instant. Being instant, we have that sense of satisfaction as if we have managed to win back our children and therefore they're going to listen to us. What we fail to recognize is the wound, the emotional wound that we create as a result of saying these, what may appear to be innocent words that we don't give any weight. And usually thereafter, children will try to avoid doing anything that may eventually result in the disapproval of their parents. Once they go to school, then parents are no longer there, and the child now wants to get the approval of teachers. Again, in trying to seek that parental love, affection, care, attention. And then when they go to work, they try to seek it from their bosses. When they get married, they try to seek it from their spouse. So it becomes a vicious circle, always trying to seek approval of somebody. And most of the time, they get disappointed because whatever they do, in reality, inside themselves, they have failed to accept themselves the way they are, and they are unhappy with themselves. Self-image is of a person who may be rejected, may be dejected, may be refused, and as a result, they live in the world of fear. They live in the world of worries, of anxiety. Sometimes it manifests itself into stress. Sometimes it manifests itself into, eventually, they get so possessed with trying to win somebody's approval. And as a result, when they have children, they repeat the same mistake their parents did to them. They think through the same way, in playing the same game with their children, they will be able to win their children. So they begin to use the same words. If you don't do this, I will not like you. If you do that, you will not be my son. If you do that, it means you don't love me, etc., etc. Let's go now to the second category of people who try to block themselves and say, I can do without it. The second category of people who got affected in their childhood, they will say, you know what? Nobody cares for me, nobody loves me, I am on my own. And when they say I'm on my own, they begin also to do a lot of damaging behaviors and attitude by blocking anybody who would try to get closer to them. Such people don't have long-term relationship with anybody. Because to them, they fear opening their hearts. And the reason they fear opening their hearts is that they don't want to feel the pain again. So as a result, they are always on a run. Being on a run, they will avoid getting into any serious relationship, intimate relationship, even allowing anybody to get closer to them. Such people live a life of privacy. Not much of their private life is known. They don't have any close friends. They don't have any close relationship. And such people, before they get married, whatever relationship they have is at arm's length. It's a surface relationship. And when they get married, even that, sometimes you'll find they have more than one relationship simply because they cannot allow anybody to come closer to them. Second category of people, what then they do is that they begin to distract themselves. They become busy. They find something to keep them busy and distracted. They seek a career, they seek a passion, they seek a hobby, whatever they want to do. And as a result, to the outer world, they appear to be successful. They appear to be outgoing. They appear to be tough. They appear to be firm. They appear to have a strong personality. And they don't mind intimidating others. But inside, they are very weak, they are very fragile. And when they are alone, they eat themselves and they burn internally. We say to both types of people, what is the result of all of this? Nobody seems to be happy, satisfied, and nobody seems to have peace of mind. I'm going to share some stories with you, and some of these stories may resonate with your own private life. It's not because I have some magic to read your minds and to understand you, it's simply because this is a reality. To men, if I was to ask men, what is the biggest missing link when men, once they become adults, what is the biggest missing link they feel in their lives? Would you like to suggest? I'm looking at the gent side here. Power. Okay, anything else? The biggest missing link in men. Love. Okay. The biggest missing link in men? Trust. Any knowledge?
Desire to be known.
A desire to be known, to be famous. Any more? Peace? Okay, peace. Let us go to ladies now. What is the biggest missing link in ladies? Kids. Okay? Now? Transparency from men. Again, these are the... Okay? Anything else? Security? Communication? Identity? Sorry? Attention. Okay. There you are. With men, the ego is playing all the time. The ego of power, the ego of being in control, the ego of creating a kingdom. That is what tends to be driving men most of the time. To prove themselves that they are worthy of being macho, and that usually is the main drive with a lot of men. With women, it is always the sense of belonging. It is the relationship. 80% of women complain about lack of positive, affectionate, caring relationship from men. 80% of women complain of loneliness. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm talking about emotionally. They don't get enough emotional attention, emotional affection, and that tends to be the biggest missing link in women. With men, the biggest missing link is money. Because with money come power, come approval, come status and all of that. And common to both men and women, usually after the middle age crisis, the midlife crisis, usually it is health. Health usually kicks in later, and health usually is a consequence of the way people have been living all their lives with all these emotional turmoils. So now here I'd like to suggest something, and please reflect upon yourself. 3 destructive behaviors. 3 destructive behaviors a lot of people tend to do most of the time, and may I suggest that these are destructive as the word suggests. First and foremost, it's about justifying why things are not going my way. You want things to go your way, they don't go your way. You try to justify. When you try to justify, basically you're trying to justify why you have been a failure. That is one quality that usually people use. Second behavior people tend to use is what I call the behavior of blaming. You need to find someone who is responsible to the misery of your life. Someone has caused you that misery. If it's not your parents, it's your brothers and sisters. If it's not them, it's the neighbors. If it's not the neighbors, it's a friend you trusted. If it's not the friend you trusted, then it is a colleague at work. If it's not that, then it's the big boss, whoever that boss may be. If it's not that, then it's going to be, I don't know, the media, it's going to be the business people, it's going to be the government. If you can't find anybody, then we'll blame the devil. And if you can't blame the devil, then we'll try to blame the weather. As long as we have someone to blame. Yeah? As long as we have someone to blame. The third destructive behavior that we tend to have is what I like to call criticism. Somehow, we can always see what is wrong with others. Criticizing whatever that is happening. And by criticizing others, somehow we feel as if we are better, or we know more, or we're trying to fix someone else's life. Look at the 3. What is common about all the 3? Justifying, blaming, and criticizing. They all have one thing in common. The one thing in common is that you are changing focus, distracting yourself from focusing inwardly. Suddenly you shift the focus to somewhere else. By shifting the focus to somewhere else, you are putting a smoke screen in front of people who are looking at you. As if to say, there is nothing wrong with me, there is something wrong with everybody else. In so doing, you feel as if you are okay, you are innocent, and there is nothing wrong with you. But may I suggest, those who use justification and those who like to blame and criticize, typically they are trying to cover their shortfalls, or they are trying to run away from the miseries. If you happen to be doing that, specifically with your loved ones, may I suggest you stop. 2 more destructive behaviors people tend to have. And this has to do with category number 1 and category number 2 of people. Category number 1, those who always seek emotional approval from others, they become so sensitive and they react emotionally to any situation in every situation. They try to read between the lines. Someone passes by and ignores them, doesn't see them, they say, what's wrong? Someone doesn't stop to look at them and to smile, they read in between the lines. So everything that happens, whether it is a gesture, it is a word, it is an act, they always see as if they have been victimized, they've been targeted. That also, being emotionally reactive to everything that happens, being oversensitive, also is dangerous. The other category of people is that they try to put down as many people as they can. So they try to walk on people, They block their emotions. Sometimes they can be arrogant, sometimes they can be abusive, and they don't even give it a second thought. To them they say, I don't care. I'm just being objective, and this is how I do it. So putting others down, criticizing them, finding mistakes in others, or being emotionally sensitive, both of these are very dangerous. And being dangerous is that both of them will have negative impact to you and to those around you. So the question remains, if this is the reality, what is the way out? Is there a way out? Can we do something about it? What can we do to get out of this vicious circle? Before we do that, let me share with you some stories. There are many. We'll start with men. Here you have a person who appears to be successful, who has all the knowledge, who is so successful, who has enough experience, who has reached a position where he's in a commanding position. This person, the biggest fear he has is to face a crowd and to speak. To him, the biggest missing link is the crowd. Leave him alone, he is okay. In front of a crowd, he shakes like a leaf, and he seems unable even to speak a word. And he is driven by that fear. Public speaking suddenly becomes a phobia. What is the missing link? Self-confidence, self-esteem. Where did it start? In childhood. This person came and said, look, I've got so much knowledge to share. I am in a position where I have to face a crowd and deliver a speech. I am supposed to guide people, mentor and motivate people. Sometimes I find myself shaking like anything, and when I'm there, my mind goes blank. So I said to this person, try to find the missing link in your childhood. Don't fix the problem now, go to the root of the problem. In trying to go back to the root of the problem, sitting there, chatting together for a while, trying to find the missing link, he found the missing link when he was 5 years old. What happened is that his mother used to threaten him. Every time he disobeyed her or he misbehaved, she said, I'm going to call your uncle. And when an uncle comes, he would say, if I ever hear that you are misbehaving, you are going to sleep in a stable with the cows and the donkeys. We don't have horses here. Yeah? And when you go and sleep there, rats, snakes, scorpions are going to eat you alive, and nobody's going to be there to rescue you. So every time, whenever he hears the name of his uncle mentioned, he would tremble with fear. Although the uncle is coming just to visit, although the uncle was joking, to him it wasn't a joke, it was a serious matter. And that continued with him. And he said, what made it worse is that one of my sisters was going to get married. And the wedding was to take place in our house. And my mother said, boys, tonight you're going to sleep with your uncles. And to him, that was the worst news he could ever get. What did he do? He ran away from the house. Running away from the house, during the day it was okay. He could go and play and distract himself. And the night fell, he couldn't come back home. Because if he comes back home, the uncle would take him home, would take him to his house. So he spent a night outside, alone, 5 years old, in the dark, imagining the worst, fearing the worst. And that is what drove him for the rest of his life. How many things do we do of such things to our children? Let me tell you another story. This time is of a girl. a woman. A young lady, again 5 years old. She has a younger brother. The mother is expecting the elder sister to look after her younger brother. And so she does. She takes care of her brother. One day, just one day, the girl did not pay full attention to her brother, and her brother, broke something in the house. The mother comes there, out of fury, out of frustration, out of anger. She takes her young daughter, 5 years old, she locks her in a store. She says, you go there in the dark. I don't care if rats or anything comes there and eat you alive. Whatever happens to you, you're not my daughter. Again, dark room, stays there for a few hours. She gets out of there. She says, whatever happens in my life, I don't want to go through the same pain. For the rest of her life, she tries to win her mother. She goes beyond the call of duty to win her mother. Her life revolves around winning her mother. She gets married. To her, the mother is everything, her parents, seeking approval of her parents. And she is driven by that. Whatever she does is never enough. She becomes successful in her career, in her studies, in everything, but she always feels as if she's not doing enough, and therefore she cannot ever win her parents. And as a result, it destroys her life, it destroys her marriage, it destroys her health and everything. That is what I call about the missing link. If you have a missing link, it has nothing to do with you now. If you have a missing link, it has nothing to do with where you are now. If you have a missing link, it doesn't have anything to do with the relationship you are in now. Go back to your childhood, either your parents, your friends, your colleagues, something you saw on television, something happened to you in school, you made a decision when you are either 5 to 7 years old, up to 10 years old, and that is what is driving you. And if you can't find that, you will continue to be not only a victim, but you will also continue to be a hostage of whatever that is driving you. How to get out of it? To get out of it, I need to show you, maybe to try and draw something. I hope you can see it on the screen. Yeah. Are you all familiar with the Maslow hierarchy of needs? Yes. Let's add one more level. This is what a lot of people do. And try to guess where you are without telling us. Some people, it's all to do with the basic needs. It's to do with food, to do with shelter. In Oman, I believe a lot of people don't have a missing link there. But if you go to places that have been plagued with wars, places that have been plagued with famine, you will come to see that the missing link to them is food and shelter. Those are the basic human needs. In the Quran, Almighty Allah says, لِإِيلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ إِيلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ وَآمَنَهُم مِّنْ خَوْفٍ. Let them worship the Lord of the house, who fed them from hunger and protected them from fear. A shelter protects you from all these unexpected situations. So these are the basic needs that people need. In Oman, when we were hit with a calamity in the year 2007 with the Gunu, do you remember the first thing that people wanted the second day? It was water. Water became the most precious commodity in Oman. After 3 days, it was about security. People realizing there's no electricity, some of them then began to ransack some homes, and they began to break into some homes. Then suddenly security was an issue. Once people have that, then they want to move to the next level, and that is the sense of belonging. Sense of belonging. In the sense of belonging, as human beings, we learn that from childhood. The sense of belonging is to do with emotional support, emotional care. One wants to feel that he or she belongs to a particular group of people. And once we get enough of that, then it's all about realizing self, it's about proving self, yeah? So we try to go and seek that independence, yeah? We try to go and seek that independence. Becoming independent financially, becoming independent relationally, emotionally, and all of that. And then eventually, we get into self-actualization. Now, this is typically what human beings do. Once they go to the next level, they want to go there to the next level. Once they get there, they want to go to the next level. Let me suggest something. The higher you go, the bigger your problem. The higher you go, the more people you influence and you impact. The higher you go, the bigger the damage you can make. However, even if you go to the self-actualization, you will still have a missing link. Go and speak to those who have reached to the top. Those who are now giving back to the community. They still feel as if they can do something else. They still feel that there is void inside them. How to overcome that? There is only one way and one magic that one can do. In this, one has to begin to draw and get out of that pyramid. To go out of pyramid, then you go into a different dimension altogether, and suddenly, whatever problem you have, whatever issue you have, whatever missing link you have, it becomes so trivial, it becomes so insignificant, it becomes as if it's nothing. Would you like to guess that level of operation, that level of thinking, that level of viewing the world? Would you like to guess what is that level? It starts with an S. Spiritual. Thank you so much. Spiritual. Spiritual. Spiritual is not about becoming a religious figure. It's not about divorcing yourself from life. It's not about retreating from the challenges of life. It's not about becoming a mullah or a monk or a priest, or about becoming someone who is sitting somewhere doing nothing. That is a misconception. Spiritually, it means you begin to see the world not through your physical body, you begin to see the world through your spirit. You begin to look at your world not through this physical entity, but you begin to see the world through your eternal entity, and that is your soul, your spirit. A question that I posed in one of these sessions: who are you? Are you a body with a soul, or are you a soul with a body? A lot of people like to think that they are a body with a soul. And my suggestion is that no, you are a soul that has a body. The soul is an eternal entity in you. The body is the vehicle, it is a housing that the soul comes to reside temporarily in this life. So once you become a soul, you look at the world through the soul, suddenly you see life is nothing other than a game, life is nothing other than illusion, and everything is temporary. There is nothing about this life that is permanent. And that is the biggest news I have for you, my friends, tonight. Whoever you are, wherever you are, in whatever situation you are in, everything that you have, who you are, where you are, the relationship, the status, and everything you have is temporary. Being temporary is just like a cloud, it's about to pass by. Biologically, you are on the move. Every single day that passes by, your body is growing and eventually is going to get to that curve, to peak, and then it's going to be a downward trend. Relationship-wise, we all know about love at first sight. And then you know after the honeymoon what happens. And then we know after the honeymoon that is over what happens. You compromise. You accept the reality, painful as it is, and you live with misery. And before you know it, it is either the way out through a divorce, or it's just accepting with what you have, accepting that you'll not have it your way. Financially, you'll continue to acquire until one day you realize that earning money is not the biggest adventure in your life. There is something else beyond money. Status, position, health, everything is temporary. And realizing that life is temporary and nothing is permanent, do not cling to anything. Do not attach yourself to anything. Jibreel alayhi salam, Archangel Gabriel, speaks to the Prophet of Islam and tells him, Ya Muhammad, O Muhammad, عِشْ مَا شِئْتَ فَإِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ. Live as long as you want, but you are dead. وَاحْبِبْ مَنْ شِئْتَ فَإِنَّكَ مُفَارِقُهُ. Love whoever you want, but you shall break apart. If it is not in life, it is in death. وَاعْمَلْ مَا شِئْتَ فَإِنَّكَ مَجْزِيٌّ بِهِ. And do whatever you want, you shall be held accountable to it. By not clinging, you can only do that when you reach that spiritual position. In the spiritual position, what happens is that you detach yourself from the reality. By detaching yourself, this is what happens. You make a break there and you begin to see things emotionally, you are not connected. Where are you? Come here. Emotionally, you are not connected. By not being connected emotionally, you become objective in whatever you see. How long do you need to do that? Only 5 minutes a day. I'm not suggesting you go there in the spiritual life, you become an observer and a spectator of your life and you sit there forever. If you do that, yes, you're going to have problems in your life. What I'm suggesting is that 5 minutes at a time, 5 minutes a day is more than enough. If you are able to do that, you will come to realize it's the best gift you have given yourself. In that 5 minutes, observe your life. Ask yourself this question. What do I learn from this experience? What is this situation teaching me? Am I responsible? And the answer has to always be yes. I am responsible to what has happened to me. And then say, if it has to be, it is up to me. That is priority number one. Priority number one is to look after yourself emotionally. You have to protect yourself from the vicious circle of negative emotions. Whether it is anger, whether it is resentment, whether it is frustration, whether it is pain, whether it is dejection, any feeling that you may find yourself getting into that is causing you that spiral downward. Try to protect yourself emotionally. خلي خف الصوت. We were okay. خلي خف الصوت. خف الصوت. Priority number one is to protect yourself. By protecting yourself, you guard yourself from being reactive, either arrogantly or sensitively. Protect yourself from being either arrogantly in reacting or being too sensitive, because the only person who's going to be hurt is you. Whilst you are hurting yourself, someone else is enjoying himself or herself, and they don't even know that you are suffering. Number two, your duty and your job is to protect those who are close to you. Accept them unconditionally. And that's going to be your biggest challenge. The problem in relationship, my brothers and sisters, is the conditional statement we always put in our relationship. If this person does this to me, I will be happy. If he buys me gold, I'll be happy. If she listens to me, I'll be happy. If she stops spending my money, I'll be happy. If he begins to spend more time at home, I'll be happy. If he takes care of kids, I'll be happy. Yeah? All these statements will only get you into more of unhappiness. Bend the camera. Switch it off. So avoid getting into that situation. Nothing is to do with my iPad. Sorry. Bye-bye. So we have a few action items, and I'm going to open the floor for question and answers in a minute. Towards you, 5 minutes a day. Dedicate 5 minutes a day to yourself. Go to the spiritual level, become the observer. When you become the observer, avoid judging anything. We love to judge. When you judge, you have already made a decision. Do not judge anything you see, including the situations you are in. As you do that, protect yourself emotionally, either from being too overly sensitive or from being overly arrogant, thinking that you are building a very strong shield on yourself. Second priority is to make sure you take care of others by not being overly sensitive to them, at the same time by not being too arrogantly towards them. Accept people as the way they are. Once you accept people as they are, we did say in one of the meetings that we had here about marriage, to accept others is about 4 things. Number 1 is to unconditionally accept them the way they are. It's not your duty to change them. Nobody has duty, nobody has authority to change anybody. You have no authority to change your children, to change your spouse, to change your parents, to change your friends, your employees, or your boss, or anybody. You can guide, you can try to influence, you can try to support, but you don't have the right to change anybody. Accept them unconditionally. Number 2 is about giving them unconditional love. By giving them unconditional love, in other words, do not put that condition. If they do this to me, I'll be happy with them. Number 3 is unconditional forgiveness. We all make mistakes. As we make mistakes, let us forgive so that we'll be forgiven. And when you forgive, it's about forgiving and forgetting. Do not cling to anything that has happened in the past. In the next argument you have, do not quote anything that happened to you in the past. Let it go. Number 4 is unconditional support. If you truly care for your loved ones, give them unconditional support. Now, final advice to men and final advice to women. To men, I say this and I mean it. In our society and all over the world, women are suffering silently. They are suffering silently because they have given up complaining, they have given up crying, they've given up asking for it. If you are married, your obligation is to provide that quality time with your spouse and your children. More importantly, make sure you give your spouse unconditional love, support, quality time. And usually, you will be amazed. I say that, you will be amazed how many women come to me and say, I can't remember the last time my husband hugged me. I can't remember the last time I had an intimate relationship with my husband. To me, Islamically, religiously, and on a humanitarian ground, this is a crime. It is your duty to provide her with that emotional support. Women are possessive, and to her, the way love works with a woman is like a switch. It is either on or it is off. When it is on, she gives you her 100% of love, affection, care, attention. And she will keep that light switch on. She will keep it on. But if she has it off, you are in trouble. Because she is going to search for it somewhere else. And then you have no one to blame except yourself. And the way to ask for it outside is to become either unfaithful or to seek a divorce. To women, what I say is very simple. With men, when they come home, treat them like kids. They are grown-up kids. Keep talking, eh? As grown-up kids, if you go back to kids, the only time kids become in a mood is when they are tired, they want to sleep, or when they are hungry. Would you agree? Same thing with men. When they are hungry and they want to sleep, yeah, their mood is not okay. So make sure they have enough rest and you feed them well. Yeah. Men don't like to talk a lot, so make your sentences short. If you want to give them details, reserve details for your mothers or your friends. Yeah? When they come there, you know when you have news, you have the summary and then you have the details. Just give them the summary, the highlights. They'll be happy with you. Yeah? In conclusion, I'd like to say a final word. This life is very short. Life is so wonderful. And please remember this statement. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. It is through the lenses, through the filters of our inner world that we tend to see the world. So if you are unhappy with the world, just change your perspectives. Change your lenses. Change the inner world and the way you see things. And once you begin to learn to see things as wonderful, I can guarantee you, every day becomes a joy. Every day becomes a pleasure. Every day becomes an excitement. Every day becomes an adventure. Every day becomes beautiful. Because suddenly, everybody you see is beautiful and the world is beautiful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran gives us a verse. I take that verse as a formula. This is what he says. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِبٌ وَلَهُ وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِبٌ وَلَهُ. This world that we live in, the life of this world is nothing other than two things. لَعِبٌ وَلَهُ, play and pleasure. وَلَلدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ. The final abode of hereafter is better for those who are righteous. Righteous are the people who think right, who feel right, who behave right. And then he concludes by asking a question. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ Can't you then, the question here, can't you then reason with this? Are you out of your mind not to see that? Look at the world. Today is 2012. 100 years from today, 2112. Every single living being on this earth, including the ones who have been born today, will be dead. Only in a 100-year span. How old is this earth? How old is this universe? So, there's nothing that is worth clinging on emotionally. Yes, strive to do your best. Keep on adding value. Improve your life. But what I'm suggesting is that before you go to sleep, reset. The way to reset, the way to wake up in the morning is to remember another saying of the Prophet of Islam when he said, "Man asbaha mu'afan fi jasadi, aminan fi sirbihi, indahu qutu yawmihi, faka'annama hizati dunya lahu bihadafiriha." Whoever wakes up in the morning healthy, they are functioning, they've got their health, and health is wealth, and they have security amongst the people, and they have the provision of the day, it is as if they have the whole universe to themselves. And guess what? Where are the missing links? On those three. We are either seeking health, we are either seeking wealth, or we are seeking approval from others. Relationship. You already have it. Learn to look at the cup that is half full before you go and see which part is empty. وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Your Lord has decreed, if you were to be grateful, He would give you more. The more you are grateful to what you have, the more you're going to get. The less you are grateful, the more misery you're going to have. So the choice is yours. There is no missing link in your life. It is an illusion. It is the make-up of mind. Yes, strive to make your life better. Protect yourself, protect your loved ones, but always wake up with the mindset that everything in my life is perfect. Everything in my life is okay. If there's anything, it's just about my perspectives, my illusion, my glasses, my focus, and you'll come to realize you have everything. Most of the time, unfortunately, we realize when it is too late that we had everything and suddenly we have nothing. إن أريد إلا الإصلاح ما استطعت وما توفيقي إلا بالله. أسأل الله يجعلني وإياكم ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه.